What would we look out for in terms of burnout? We would look for sort of a more recent or an increased sense of cynicism within individuals. So are they more cynical in relation to their colleagues, to the actual work, other people in their life, or other experiences in their life? We'd also look for physical symptoms, physical manifestation that burnout. So are they getting aches and pains that they used to get? So are they getting gastrointestinal problems, migraines more frequently? And sort of fatigue, sort of sleep, is their sleep affected? Are they able to focus or concentration? We'd also look for a sense of sometimes what would seem like low mood, sort of a sense of not wanting to get up in the morning, a sense of feeling, well, what's the point in this? So we'd look for those key ingredients. It's often spoke of in terms of the workforce. That's where a lot of the research lies, but actually it's very much coming through in terms of our life as well, day to day. How would we treat burnout? We would treat burnout by going back to the basics. So actually making sure someone is sleeping, making sure they have rest. Not just in terms of sleep and cutting off after work, but that there are boundaries in place. So is someone taking their lunch break? Is someone shutting off their emails after their work is technically done? Is someone working until 11 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock at night? Or are they getting rest by in between? So those would be the main ones. But also what's fueling the burnout behind it? Is a sense of work never being finished? Is there so much work you never can get, finished with it, completed with it? Do we need to speak to someone to help us with that? Do we need help from sometimes a manager? And also sometimes people are afraid of doing that. What if I appear incompetent? What if I appear not good enough to my manager? That requires a bit of a conversation, which can be nerve-wracking at the start.
When it comes to burnout, what we know is that people who burn out, as I mentioned, are because they're passionate about something. It means that they end up burning the candle on both ends because they want to give. They want to give time, they want to give energy, they want to give their emotions all into it. And that means that they struggle because you end up just, like I said, burning both ends of the candle. You feel exhausted. You feel like whatever you're doing is just not good enough. So my initial recommendation is to recognize when that's happening. Recognize when you're not getting the same pleasure out of what used to give you a lot of pleasure. Recognize when you're feeling tired. And recognizing is not a failure on your part. It's because you actually care about what you're doing and that impacts you as a person. So that's the first step. The next step is to talk to those people around you so that you're able to, because often the perception which you may have of your work, of what you're doing, may not be the same perception as what other people have of you. Often they, not always, but often they may say, you're doing great, you're doing well, and that can feel a bit discordant from what you experience for yourself. And the third thing is take time for yourself. Look, the way I always picture it is that any sort of activity, be it exercise, be it studies, whatever, it's if somebody does it every single day for 24 hours a day, you get exhausted. That's just what life is. So if somebody was training for a marathon, you wouldn't expect them to run a marathon every single day. You expect them to have periods of rest, of time away from it, of time to be able to recuperate. So why don't we do the same thing when we go into work? We need that time away from it as well. And therefore, that's what I would recommend. It's important to stress that with burnout, sometimes other conditions can come with it as well. So things like depression, anxiety can impact upon your mental well-being. And therefore, psychological therapy could be quite useful for it. And a number of occasions, medications can be useful as well. But I think often you have to think about the societal things which you can do, which will help improve your well-being.
Modern life with the ongoing data flow is, I think, making us more prone towards burnout. So even though it's not a formal diagnosis in psychiatry, it's considered a very serious problem. I just look at my medical colleagues, the burnout rates are between 30 to 60% of some symptoms of burnouts in the different specialities, also depending on where you work. For example, pathologists and public health doctors don't have as high a rate of burnouts as accident and emergency doctors. But it's a huge problem. It doesn't only affect health staff, it affects almost everybody. Preventing burnout, there's a lot of good empirical evidence of how to do this. There's a lot of research going into burnout. I personally use mindfulness meditation as a form of helping people to regulate their emotions in a different way. Mindfulness meditation being a sort of a room, a space where people can do several things to look after themselves. It's a space where they can just stop. Yeah, so it can use a short meditation practice, sometimes just a breathing space for 1 or 2 minutes as a form of stopping. But also it can be a space when we do longer meditation practices where we actually really think about the question, how can I look after myself better? How can I protect myself against burnout better? So meditation opens that space to really ask that question, and normally answers arise out of that practice. People can then sort of do the things that they normally know help them. I think everybody's got a list of things that are really useful for them to support their well-being, but we just don't do them. So when we've got a space where we can actually stop and then think, I need to perhaps do more of the things that help me to not get distressed, or to not get emotionally detached, or not get cynical about my work, then meditation can be that space.